Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining session COP366 to learn more about billing transfer and how we can help you streamline your billing across multiple AWS organizations. Let's start. So if you're here today, your company operates across multiple AWS organizations. And if that's the case, or it's planning to do so, and if that's the case, you are probably experiencing some challenges. Picture this. You are in a meeting room, your FinOps or finance team is requesting centralized access to billing and cost management, which means minimizing the number of AWS organizations that they have to log into in order to retrieve billing and cost management artifacts for payments or cost planning. Business units, on the other side, or dev teams, want complete autonomy when it comes to manage their AWS accounts, which means spinning up as many AWS organizations as they need in order to fulfill their testing requirements or to segregate workloads as it best aligned to their needs. So what? You're both stuck. And if you are a channel partner in the business of reselling AWS services, you face very similar challenges. The more end customers you get with their own AWS organizations, the more complex your billing operations become. And additionally, you face the extra challenge of your end customer demanding complete control over the security of their AWS accounts, which you can provide without exposing your reselling incentives. So does this resonate with you? If so, you are in the right space today. My name is Marina Vitale. I'm a senior product manager tech in the billing and cost management space at AWS. And today, together with Mohan, a principal solution architect and cloud financial management specialist, we are going to walk you through how billing transfer will solve the challenges that we just described and how it will help you streamline your billing across multiple AWS organizations. So let's take a look at the agenda for the next hour. We're going to start with an overview of billing transfer, the pain point that this feature is going to solve for you, and also the high-level architecture of the feature. I'll then hand it over to Mohan to walk you through the key functionalities that are supported today with billing transfer. And we will then cover some use cases so you can make sure you understand when billing transfer is the right feature for your needs. And lastly, we will close off with some practical tips, best practices, and steps to get started with billing transfer. With that, as I alluded to a little bit earlier, the current billing model is tightly coupled with governance and security management. So what that means is that the management account, which is the account that you see at the top of this picture, it's both the account that has administrative control over the entire AWS organizations, but also the accounts that retrieve bills and invoices. So the users that have access to that account can implement security best practices or guardrails, for example, implementing service control policies, but they can also access the AWS bill. And now this works great for companies where the billing persona and the security persona work for the same company, or where business units are aggregated under a single management account. But we know that that's not how our channel partner work, for example, where in their case, the billing persona is the partner, the security persona is the end customer, and they have different needs. And they also need to support multiple AWS organizations for each individual end customers. And similarly, for large companies that acquire new business units that may already have their own AWS organizations, they still need to support multiple AWS organizations. And when that happens, we heard about 3 key challenges. Number 1, having to log in into multiple management accounts to retrieve invoicing and cost management artifacts. That adds overhead to your billing operation. Number 2 is having to take those extra steps in order to get the holistic view of your spend across your business or your end customers, which typically requires setting up dashboards or relying on third-party tools. And number 3, another of the key challenges that we heard is that when you support multiple AWS organizations, it is more difficult to protect any confidential pricing data from org's administrator. So customers have asked for a better way to manage multiple AWS organizations for billing purposes, and we listened. So today, I'm really excited to introduce billing transfer, generally available as of November 2025. What is billing transfer? Billing transfer is an opt-in feature that enables you to designate one management account to receive and pay for the bills of different management accounts, different AWS organizations. This is transformative, and let's see how this works. So there is an invite mechanism. And through this invite mechanism, one or multiple management accounts can accept to transfer their bill away to a different management account. Now, the key thing to note is that the invite is handled at the management account level. So that means you don't need to invite individual member accounts. You handle that invite, as I said, at the management account level. And that also means that you have one inviting account and multiple invited accounts. So that's a one-to-many relationship. Back, sorry. Okay, something is missing, but one other important note on that slide, I'll just go back real quick, is that once the transfer is active, we call these accounts bill source account and bill transfer account. So the bill source account is the accounts where the bill originates, the accounts that produces those charges. And the bill transfer account is the account where the bill is transferred to. Now, once the billing transfer is active, the bill source accounts, so the organizations that are transferring their bill away, no longer receive an AWS invoice. The only account that receives an AWS invoice, or all the AWS invoices, is the bill transfer account. And the bill transfer account will receive one invoice per each AWS organization that is transferring the bill to the bill transfer account. So if we take the example in these slides, we have 2 AWS organizations transferring the bill to the bill transfer account, which means that the bill transfer account will receive 2 cloud monthly invoices for the 2 organizations pictured in the slides. And there is one important note that I want to call out here. The bill transfer account is also going to receive its own invoice. We recommend that this account is used exclusively for financial management purposes, but you should still expect some usage and costs on that account, even if it's just to store financial data on S3. So with that, bear in mind that the bill transfer account is also receiving its own invoice and is responsible to pay for all these invoices, inclusive of the invoices of the bill transfer account, back to AWS, as you can see from the payment flow there. Another important note is that with the transferring or the invoice, we do not change the way we compute the bill. This means that each AWS organization bill and usage is computed within the boundary of the AWS organization as it happens today. And this means that there is no spillage of discounts across different end customers or business units. And one other important note here is that regardless of when you send those invites that we talked about, the transfer will always go into effect on the first of the following billing month. So that removes the complexity of handling split or partial bills. Now, so far, we talked about all the centralization aspects of billing transfer. But billing transfer unlocks additional benefits for your business, simplifying your entire billing journey, from you paying your bills to AWS to charging back or rebilling your customers or your business units. Earlier, we talked about how the coupling of billing and cost management results in trading off the ability to protect confidential pricing data. Well, we want to solve that problem too. And that's done with the integration of billing transfer with AWS Billing Conductor. This is an existing service, a chargeback, showback service that we integrated with billing transfer to enable the bill transfer account to have complete control of the cloud cost visible by the bill source account or by the AWS organization transferring the bill. So your business units, your subsidiaries, or your end customers in case of a partner. This is done by creating what we call billing groups. You can think of billing groups as container of accounts, and creating pricing plans and pricing rules to apply to those billing groups. One important note, if you're familiar with Billing Conductor, in the context of billing transfer, the billing group exclusively map one-to-one with the entire AWS organization. So that means that any existing account that you've got in that AWS organization, they will view the pricing controlled by the bill transfer account. And any new account, obviously, added to the AWS organization will also see their cloud cost controlled by the bill transfer account. As a result, we have two different data sets in the context of billing transfer that reflect the usage of the bill source accounts. The first is the billable data, which is the usage of the bill source account computed with rates supplied by AWS. And this is inclusive of any program discounts or negotiated discounts, for example. And then on the other hand, we have pro forma data, which essentially is rates controlled by the bill transfer account. And this pro forma data is fully customizable. We talked earlier a little bit about pricing plan and pricing rules. That's how you customize it. But you also can choose to go with a default option, which is a sanitized version of the cost cloud of the cost data that does not include program or negotiated discounts, credits, or tax. Now, access to these data sets is governed by billing views. You can think of these as container of cost and usage data. And I want to talk about which account in the billing transfer set of relationships can view which cost data set. Starting with the bill source account, so the account that is transferring the bill out and is producing that usage. The bill source account will have its own primary view. Every account within AWS has a primary view, and it's in the underlying mechanism through which accounts can view their data in Cost Explorer, for example, or cost and usage reports. So their primary view will exclusively capture pro forma data. This mechanism ensures that all your business units, subsidiaries, affiliates, or end customers, in the case of partners, will have one single source of truth when it comes to viewing their cost. The bill transfer account, on the other side, will gain access to two sets of views, transfer billing views, my view and the showback chargeback view. Now, before I explain this into a little bit more details, I just want to stress this point. These are additional billing views. So that means that the bill transfer account will have its own primary view, which is essentially containing their own cost and usage data for their own usage. And that is unaffected by billing transfer. So these two are additional views that reflect the usage of the bill source accounts that have transferred the bill away. So starting with the my view, this is essentially giving the bill transfer account visibility of what they have to pay AWS for the usage of the bill source account. And therefore, it captures only billable data, which, as we said, is data that is matching one-to-one what's in the AWS invoice. On the other side, we have the showback or chargeback view, which is a mirror of what the AWS organization transferring away the bill see in their own accounts. And that captures pro forma data. So with this mechanism, we make it really easy to control which party can get access to the true invoicing cost at AWS, and also driving the transparency and ease of access to this cost centrally within the bill transfer account. So that, for example, they can easily answer questions regarding costs for their business units or the end customers. We covered the high-level architecture of the feature, and now I just want to recap the benefits the billing transfer is providing to your organization before handing it over to Mohan. Number one, centralizing billing operation. You no longer need to log in into multiple AWS management accounts to retrieve invoicing and cost management artifacts for payments or cost planning. That reduces overhead and enables you to scale faster within AWS. Decentralizing security and governance. You no longer need to balance that tension within your business unit or your end customer to ensure that they can have full control of their own accounts. That problem is resolved with billing transfer. And lastly, this gives you the ability to have enhanced control over cost visibility, which is unprecedented before. So with that, I want to hand it over to Mohan to look at what functionalities are supported today with billing transfer.
Fantastic. Thank you, Marina, for the wonderful introduction. All right, so now that you've all seen what billing transfer is, why it matters, now let's dive into the details, right? I want to walk you through some key functionalities here to know what can you actually do with billing transfer. So let's start off with centralized cost management, right? As the bill transfer account, or from within the bill transfer account, you can view the billable costs centrally through all of the tools that you already know and love today, right? So talk about the billing and cost management console, the popular cost explorer interface, the bills page, the budgets, the cost and usage reports, both the legacy and the 2.0 versions, as well as the AWS billing conductor that Marina briefly touched upon. So let's kind of take a look at a couple of these functionalities in detail. Now, starting off with this powerful feature in billing views, so what you see here in this short demo, first thing that you do is to kind of enable the billing views in the Cost Explorer console on the top left corner there, and then it allows you to drop down or kind of go into the drop-down list to select a particular account that you want to inspect and analyze, right? So in this particular demo, you see a customer account is being selected, and all that is being showed are basically the customer accounts that has an active bill transfer enabled, right? And then you could also see back in the primary view, you will then see how easy it is to kind of navigate between one or more multiple customer accounts there. And keep in mind that your access to the Cost Explorer console from within the bill transfer account supports pretty much the exact same functionalities that Cost Explorer supports today. So what that means is you will have the ability to drill down and inspect the cost data across each member accounts or across resources or even across multiple customer organizations too. So nothing is changing on that regard except that everything is being centrally managed and dealt with from within your bill transfer account. And this is another short demo where you will see for the same company analysis, you're provided with two data, right? One is the billable data, the other one is the pro forma data. So you see how the company is the same, the duration is the same, but you've got but the numbers change, right? So one is the billable data, which is the AWS invoice cost, so which is exactly what you pay AWS, and the other one is the pro forma data, which is the showback or the chargeback cost that you will then have the customer see in their bill source account, right? Yeah. And you might ask, so how do you go about configuring the pro forma data, right? And this is where AWS Billing Conductor comes in handy. Marina briefly touched about a couple different functionalities with Billing Conductor. I want to walk you through some of the key components that constitute the AWS Billing Conductor, starting off with pricing rules. Now, think of pricing rules as something that you can use to apply discounts and markups to AWS services, right? Now, pricing rules can either be a global pricing rule, meaning you can set up a pricing rule for services, for all services globally, or you could create a pricing rule which is more service specific, right? And keep in mind that the pricing rules that you create do not overlap with each other. So what I mean by that is if we were to take a simple example, right? So I create a pricing rule that sets that applies a 5% off globally on all services. And then I create a separate pricing rule, a service-specific pricing rule for just S3, which applies a 10% off, right? So now what typically happens is, all service usages are being discounted at 5%, so that's where the global pricing rule kicks in. But the service usages for S3 will have a 10% off, right? So which means the service-specific S3 pricing rule overrides the global pricing rule. And then when it comes to pricing plans, so think of pricing plans as a collection of one or more pricing rules. In our previous example, we're going to have both the global pricing rule as well as the service-specific pricing rule grouped together to form a particular pricing plan, something that will be applied on top of a billing group. Okay? An AWS billing group is a container where you will then have the list of all individual bill source accounts which you're managing, on top of which a particular pricing plan will then be applied. Okay? And then the last one there is the custom line items. So think of custom line items, as the name suggests, these are line items that you can add to the pro forma data. And custom line items can either be a flat line item, meaning example, say you can have a flat $500 charge, right? On your pro forma data, or it could be a percentage custom line item, right? Where you're saying, I'm applying a 15% of the total usage, right? And the value could either be a positive or a negative value. And other potential use cases for custom line items could either be applying a shared service cost, right? Perhaps say, you have a shared security team, the cost for which you may want to distribute, you could use a custom line item for that, right? And if you have managed service costs that you may want to just expose to the invoice, you could use that custom line item to do that as well. Or perhaps you may want to say adjust tax, right, or distribute credits. So all of that are potential use cases if your partners in the room. So these are good use cases for which you can use the credit line item, the custom line item for. All right, so quick short demo where you will see from within the bill transfer account how easy it is for you to select a particular account, go in, and underneath the pricing configuration, you could create a pricing plan on the fly or choose an existing one, which you then apply on top of a given billing group, right? And the billing group will then contain the list of all bill source accounts that you're managing. That will then inherit the pricing plan that you then apply. Okay, so that's the cost capabilities there. But beyond just the cost analysis, we do also have capabilities from a centralized billing management standpoint. So that includes centralized payments and payment tracking, centralized invoices, tax settings across multiple organizations, multiple seller of records, or SORs in short, and configuring payment profiles, right, across multiple SORs. So let's just dive into each of these in detail and understand how this works with the introduction of billing transfer. So first up is payments. The payments is crucial for reconciliation, right? So on the screenshot there, you see a red box. That is a bill source account ID. And that's how easily it is for you to identify which AWS organization generated the charges, right? And each payment record that you get to see can be mapped to a specific customer account or bill source account that generated it. So what that means for you is three things. One is clear attribution. You instantly know which organization generated the charges. Two, simplified reconciliation. So you can match each payment back to a specific customer account that generated it. And lastly, centralized management. You now have the ability to centrally manage and track all from within the bill transfer account. And also keep in mind, though, when it comes to payments and invoicing, the invoices are issued only to the bill transfer account, right? Your bill source account will no longer be receiving invoices or processing payments. Everything is all centrally managed from within the bill transfer account. And if you're a partner managing dozens or hundreds of customers, so this payment functionality is a very critical functionality that you can take advantage of. All right, so let's talk about invoicing experience, right? What you're seeing here on the screen is a significant improvement when it comes to invoicing that we have incorporated with the introduction of billing transfer. So what you get with this new experience is three things, right? One is centralized downloads of all of the invoices from within your bill transfer account. And then secondly, you get unified cost and usage reporting for all of the bill source organizations that you're managing. And then lastly, it is the multi-region tax compliance management, which I'll get to it in just a little bit. So all of these components sort of come together to simplify what used to be a complex multi-step workflow in the past, right? So here, with this particular screenshot, you see the red highlighted box, which shows the bill source account information and the relationship info. So at the end of each month, you get an invoice, right, for each AWS bill source organization that you manage. And each invoice is identified by that bill source account ID that you see in the invoice over there. So what that means is, and you could also see the utility charges, the discounts, taxes all broken up nicely in the invoice. But keep in mind, though, these are billable costs, which means these are AWS invoice costs that you're actually paying AWS, right? So what that means as a result is you now no longer have the need to log into the customer management accounts to get the invoices, right? Everything is here, clearly attributed, ready for your finance team to go. All right, so let's talk about taxes. Super important topic, especially if you are an international customer operating across regions, or you're a global partner managing customers across regions. This is very much applicable for you. Now, in the current state, outside of billing transfer, this is how it works, right? Assuming that the tax inheritance is enabled by default, you see that each AWS organization manages its own tax profile. So in this particular example, we've got an US organization that has its US tax profile, UK organization that manages its UK tax profile, and likewise, the France organization manages its own French tax profile. Now, fast forward with the introduction of billing transfer, and still assuming that the tax inheritance is enabled, you see how everything is now changed to US, right? What happens now is all of the bill source organizations that are under the bill transfer account by default inherits the US tax profile of the bill transfer account, okay? And for some, this is okay, it's an acceptable behavior, but what if you need different tax treatments across different regions, right? So we've got you covered there. It's a easy five-step process, which I will walk you through here, that you can configure to get this tax treatments done accordingly. So step number one is for you to create new member accounts under the bill transfer account organization. So you see the two new member accounts that's created on the right organization. So that's step one. And step two is for each member account that you created in the previous step, you then assign the desired tax profile. So in this particular example, you see how it's assigned UK, which means that the member account is assigned a UK tax profile. Again, all of this is done in the console, by the way. Step three is for you to create an invoice unit that's scoped at the AWS organizational level, okay? And you use what is called an invoice configuration integration. See how the top organization now has a dashed border? So that's the invoice unit. Now, for those of you wondering what an invoice configuration integration is, that's a mechanism that makes this possible, right? It is a mechanism that lets you group individual accounts as into invoice units and designates a member account which then gets the invoice. So in this particular case, we're creating an invoice unit that represents the whole of UK bill source organization on the top. So if you're tracking with me so far, you probably would have figured what the next step is. Step number 4 is for you to then map the invoice unit to the appropriate member account that you've created earlier, right? So in this particular example, we are now mapping the UK, the invoice unit that we created for the UK BillSource organization to the UK member account, right? So what that then means is the UK organization assumes the UK tax profile. And in a sense, the invoice for the UK BillSource organization will be issued to the UK member account, taxed using the UK tax profile with the appropriate UK seller of record, all while maintaining centralized payment control within the bill transfer account. All right? So the last step in this process is for you to repeat this process for each AWS organization that needs a different tax profile. So we did the mapping for UK organization in the previous step. We're going to repeat the same process now for the France organization, mapping it to the other member account that has the French tax profile, right? So in a sense, this France organization will assume the tax profile of the France member account. So as a result, different organizations are taxed using different tax profiles, and each invoice gets generated for each business entity, and that way you can continue to pay in different currencies via different payment profiles. So this is basically the process that you will have to follow if you're operating across regions and you want to manage multiple tax treatments across different regions. Super simple process here. Now, speaking of different currencies and regions, so this mechanism allows you to receive invoices, in fact, multiple invoices from multiple AWS service providers, or otherwise called the seller of records, or SORs in short. So seller of SORs are basically configured using the billing and contact information that you provide during the tax registration process, right, within the tax settings page in the console. And if you're operating across regions, you will receive invoices from each seller of record for that particular region. And you could also configure a payment profile, which can be configured to a given seller of record. Now, in this particular scenario, you can create a payment profile, specifying your own preferred currency and payment method to be used. Going back to our organizational structure there, we can create a payment profile for the US organization, which is the seller of record happens to be AWS Inc., to be paid in US dollars, right? And likewise, a payment profile for UK, AWS Europe to be paid in euros. And likewise for Japan, AWS Japan and Japanese yen. So that's how easy it is for you to configure payment profiles across multiple seller of records there. Cool. All right, so now that we have taken a look at what you can do with billing transfer and how it helps in terms of functionalities, let's talk who this is used for, right? Or who this is useful for. In terms of the use cases, we are seeing two groups primarily adopting billing transfer. One is our end customers, direct customers, and the other one is our channel partners. So I'm pretty sure folks in the room, you can easily relate yourself into either of these two categories. Let's talk about direct customers. So we've got three primary use cases when it comes to direct customer adoption of billing transfer. The first is conglomerates or holding companies. Now, if you're managing multiple subsidiaries, each managing their own AWS organization, with billing transfer, you can manage the billing centrally from within the bill transfer account. So what that means is you now have one finance team, one set of tools, but while still maintaining the autonomy that the subsidiary teams needs. So that's now possible with billing transfer. Second one is multinational companies or enterprises. Now, this is where it's easier than ever before to implement FinOps strategies. Like I said earlier in the previous tax segment, different tax treatments, different currencies, different payment profiles across different seller of records. That's very much possible with this particular use case there. The last one, this is an interesting one with venture capitalists and private equity firms, especially if you want to take over billing responsibilities of your private equity firms' accounts. So you can do that without the need for you to log into their accounts, right? Now think about this. You've invested in a startup. You want visibility into their cloud spend without having the need to log in to their accounts. right? And billing transfer lets you do that. All right, so let's talk about channel partner use cases. So this is where things get really interesting, right? So we are seeing two groups when it comes to channel partners driving adoption of billing transfer. The first is solution providers. And when I say solution providers, it's our entire partner ecosystem, right? The likes of SI, system integrators, and MSPs, the managed service providers. Now, as solution providers, you can now fulfill billing obligations with AWS. While still, maintaining, complete autonomy, security autonomy for your end customers, right? So what that means is, in the traditional model, if you are a channel partner, you probably would have onboarded customers onto your payer organization where you get to own complete responsibility of your management account, right? So customers rightfully push back on that. There's been a lot of friction points in that particular process, and hence why, with the introduction of billing transfer, that is solving for all of that. So what typically now happens with that particular model is you decouple the billing responsibilities from the organizational governance. The customers will still have complete ownership and control over their AWS organization. Like Marina said before, if it's IAM roles, the SCP permissions, or organizational boundaries, everything that they had access to before will still continue to be there in place for customers, while channel partners on the other end will continue to maintain or have billing responsibilities that they can centrally manage from within their bill transfer account. The other set of partners is our distributors or downstream sellers, where transfer billing allows for multi-level transfer capabilities, right, up to 2 levels. What that means is, if you follow the diagram over there, on the left is our end customers, and end customers can transfer the billing responsibility to a selling partner, that's level 1, and then the selling partner can then transfer the billing responsibilities over to a distributor. So AWS distributor in this particular case pays AWS, right? And nobody is compromising anyone's account security in the process. All right, so real quick before I wrap up this segment, if you're a channel partner, you need to know about the partner central integration here. Now, with the introduction of billing transfer, you now have a bill transfer account. So you need to register that as your program management account, or otherwise called PMA in short, within Partner Central. And keep in mind that each PMA will have access to or connect to multiple customer organizations or bill source organizations. Okay? So what that does to you is it unlocks potential benefits like self-service activation of PMA, right, to unlock any of the AWS program benefits and no more waiting for AWS approvals. And then B, you have the ability to establish custom support models for your end customers. And lastly, simplified reporting, right, simplified end-user reporting. It is only once per every AWS customer organization that you manage. So real quick on that end-user reporting, in the traditional model, you would have to report on each of the individual member accounts that you're onboarding, right? If you're managing dozens or hundreds of customers, that's a massive administrative overhead, right? So now with billing transfer in place, you just have to manage, or you just have to report only once, right? So for an example, if you were to onboard a customer with 50 member accounts, all that you have to do is to just report once for that particular customer organization, okay? And that screenshot over there is the Partner Central interface, where all that you'll have to provide is just the relationship information to begin with, and then you specify whether it's a downstream seller in case of 2-level transfer, or if it is an end customer that you're dealing with, right? And then you specify the account ID, which is the bill source account ID that's going to be transferring the bills over to you. And yeah, and that's it. That's pretty much it. Straightforward. So with that being said, I'm going to transfer it over to Marina to walk us through the getting started process and wrap us off with meaningful next steps. So if you've got any questions on what we just discussed, feel free to find us after the session. We are more than happy to have a chat with you. So thanks for listening, guys. Back to you, Marina.
Thank you, Mohan, for the thorough deep dive. Great. So let's look at how we can get started with billing transfer. So it's pretty straightforward. You need to navigate to the billing and cost management console. And from the side nav at the bottom, you're going to see the new billing transfer link. This will provide you access to the billing transfer console. Here, you can simply hit send invitation, and you need to fill the invitation form, which we're going to look into the details in a second. And once that's sent, you can track the status of all your invitations from the main page. A few important tips or best practices when you send billing transfer invitations. The first, very important one, is choosing a highly descriptive name for the invitation, for the transfer. So you see at the top of the billing transfer invitation, you see the name field. Now, you want to use something, as I said, highly descriptive that will make it easier for you to identify what are the customers or business units that you're paying the charges for. So in this case, for example, company A, company B, these are names that you can use. And we recommend to establish a nomenclature within your organization so that if different users use billing transfer, they have a standardized way to handle names. Now, this name is also reported in the billing views. So whenever you saw what Mohan was showing earlier in the demo, you can toggle between different customers' views. So you will see customer A, customer B. This is the name that you have established during the billing transfer invitation, and that's also reported in the invoicing artifact, where you have that extra metadata, which make it super simple for you to identify who you're paying charges for. So that's the first tip. The second tip is to include a message into your invitation so that the subsidiaries, business units that are receiving that invite or your end customer know what to expect once the bill is transferred to you. And lastly, to pick your desired pricing plans. So we've made it really easy for you to conveniently pick the pricing plan that you're going to use for you to control the billing visibility for your customers or business unit. You can choose among two options. You can choose a templated pricing plan that AWS creates for you, and that typically by default does not include any program discounts or negotiated discounts. Or you can fully customize a pricing plan, and you can choose the customized one as well from this central page. You can also update all of these afterwards. So that is super easy to do once you use Billing Conductor after having set up the invite. Once the invites are sent, you can monitor the status in real time of each invite from the billing transfer page. And you can update the status. So you can still update the name if you need. And you can update the status of the transfer itself. For example, you can withdraw a transfer. Speaking of withdrawals, there are a few items that I want you to pay attention to. Any party in the billing transfer can withdraw a transfer. So what this means is your business unit can initiate their withdrawal and will automatically go through. Your end customer can, in the case of partner, can initiate a withdrawal. And this doesn't require approval from the other party. One super important note is that, again, regardless of when the status changes, and that it's applicable for beginning of transfer and withdrawal, the effective date is always on the first day of the following billing month. And then another important note this specifically for partners, new invites can be accepted after a withdrawal is initiated. So that means if an end customer needs to move between partner A and partner B, they can do that without having to go direct to AWS. And then a closing note of this is that once the billing transfer is withdrawn, the bill transfer account will continue to get access to historical billing and cost management data for auditing purposes. Okay, now we looked at the console, at the UI experience, and you can do all of these steps via programmatically via API as well. So we have 3 sets of APIs that are relevant for you. The first 2 sets of APIs, the billing transfer APIs, are part of the AWS Organizations SDK. And the billing and cost management APIs are the existing billing and cost management APIs that you know today. You will notice a new parameter, which is the billing view parameter, which will help you, for example, in Cost Explorer API, which will help you investigating the cost and usage data for a specific customers or business unit. And then specifically for partners, there are partner central APIs that you want to use to programmatically set up relationships. Now, an example of how you can use the billing transfer APIs is to obviously programmatically send invitations, and for the billing and cost management to programmatically set up cost and usage reports files so that you can immediately start analyzing the cost of your business units or customers in greater details. And now with that, an important note on pricing. Billing transfer is free of charge. Billing transfer is also integrated with billing conductor, as we discussed earlier, which is a paid service. But we launched a new pricing model for billing conductor to cater specifically for billing transfer user. In contrast to the current pricing model, if you use billing conductor outside of billing transfer, with this new pricing model, using billing transfer, you will be charged by number of AWS organizations that you onboard, that you apply a pricing plan to. And specifically, if you apply a customized pricing plan. And the charges will be $50 per month per AWS organizations. We also have designed and added a free option for you, which is the ability to use the managed pricing plan free of charge. Pricing example to make it easier for everyone to digest. So in this diagram, we have two AWS organizations, which means that we are applying custom pricing plan to, which means that the bill transfer account is going to be charged $100 per month for using this customized pricing plan. Now again, pay attention that the charges are landing on the invoice of the bill transfer account. So we talked about earlier how the bill transfer account is still expected to have charges, and this is one example of what charges they will incur. Charges are prorated, which means you only are charged for what you use within the month. We're also offering a free trial through May 31st. So you incur charges starting on June 1st, 2026, and again, exclusively for using customized pricing plans. And as we wrap up, I want to recap the key takeaways from today's session. First of all, for the first time, we give you the ability to manage one-to-many billing relationships through billing transfer. So one single bill transfer account can handle and send multiple invites and handle multiple customers or business units, cost and usage data within that single account. So having the single pane of glass visibility from that account. Only bill transfer account will be able to receive AWS invoices. Again, this is super important, and it's important to set the expectation to the business units or the end customer that you're sending invites to, so that they know what to expect. So only the bill transfer account is able to receive AWS invoices, and it will be responsible to pay for those invoices on behalf of the bill source accounts. The bill source accounts will exclusively view data controlled by the bill transfer account. We talked extensively how billing conductor enables these, and so we just want you to drive that home and understand that you can now fully control what the entire AWS organization sees from their management account in terms of cost and usage data. Both bill source and bill transfer account can withdraw the transfer, and the effective date is always on the first day of the following billing month. So those are the key takeaways for today. And as we wrap up, I also want to emphasize how billing transfer is transformational for your billing experience. This feature helps you scale your business within AWS by simplifying your billing operation. It enables you to maintain security control decentralized so that each business unit and end customer can have full control of their accounts. And then finally, it helps you getting those enhanced control over cost visibility and protecting any confidential pricing data that only authorized parties should have access to. So with that, welcome to the future of billing. We leave you with a few resources so that you can get started with billing transfer. What's New announcement and an AWS News blog, generic for both direct customers and channel partners, and then specific channel partner announcement there. So I'm going to leave this up for a few seconds in case you take pictures. Great. And user guides to get started with the details on billing transfer. We also encourage you to reach out to your AWS representative if you have specific use case or require additional support. And I also want to take a moment to really thank our launch partner that you see on this screen. Those are solution providers and distribution partners that can help you get started with billing transfer if you're purchasing service through the channel. As a reminder, for the rest of your reInvent, you can visit our CloudOps kiosks and meet us at the Village to get demos, swag, or stickers, which everybody loves. And alternatively, you can just scan this QR code and get the same information there and interactive demos as well. So with that, I want to close it off, and I want to thank you for your time today. And please ask you to complete the survey for this session. Your feedback matters to us. Thank you.